Welcome back. We speak to Nairobi County Jubilee Governor aspirant Peter Kenneth on Game Plan 2017 tonight. His name will be on the ballot paper on Wednesday as he seeks the Jubilee ticket to unseat Governor Evans Kidero in the August elections. Would you vote for Peter Kenneth to be the Jubilee Governor candidate in the party nominations? Talk to us. The hashtag is Game Plan 2017. You can also text us on the SMS number 22422. Let's first take a look at what you're saying very quickly on Twitter. M. with Sally saying, yes, Peter Kenneth would make a great governor for Nairobi. Sonko is good, but too philanthropic. Jairus Kamau, yes, you cannot compare Kenneth with Sonko. He will transform Nairobi just like how he did in Gatanga, says Bless. Princess J, no, Peter Kenneth is not vying to serve the interests of Nairobians. He has been handpicked to replace Sonko. Ask him where his integrity is, please. And Shiko Mwangi, I wanted Peter Kenneth to go for presidency because that's what he wanted initially. A man must have a stand. On 22422, Wayne from Dandora says, I believe that Peter Kenneth is the only man qualified to be Nairobi governor. So yes, Hussein, ask him if he believes that the Wednesday nominations will be free and fair. Thank you for making time for us, Honorable Peter Kenneth.
Thank you, Hussein.
And that is the first question I'll start with. That is Wayne from Dandora. First, do you believe the Wednesday nominations will be free and fair?
I think every candidate in any nomination process would want to have a free and fair and credible nomination process. That's what we are looking forward to. We've been told there will be enough security to ensure that it is free and fair and that people can go out there and freely vote.
Right. It's definitely one of the most awaited duels in the party nominations. You and Senator Mike Sonko. Yet several times there has been talk, including up to today, up to this hour. And that is why people are saying it has actually been postponed. Our sources tell us it has been postponed to Wednesday again. Twice it has been postponed. Friday, then tomorrow, then now Wednesday. Because our sources say they're looking for time to get a consensus between you and Sonko. Have there been such talks?
I'm not aware of any talks, but I've been open to any method, whether consensus or nominations. So we've geared ourselves ready. We were ready on Friday, we were ready for tomorrow, and we are ready for Wednesday. Because we'd like Jubilee to have its best person forward.
Are you saying there has been no talks at all? Whether with you or Sonko, with you with other parties, to try and broker a deal before you go to the nominations?
I haven't met any candidate.
You haven't met
any discussions.
Have you met anyone else for any discussions?
I've been told I've been asked if we can have consensus.
Coming from where?
From various people who are party players. And I've said yes, I'm open to any system that will unite the party to produce one candidate. Yes.
Has there been any intervention from the Jubilee leadership on this matter?
I wouldn't say so. But of course, the hierarchy would want to see a smooth process for Nairobi. Nairobi is an important city.
Okay.
So for me, it's very important, and I'm open. I haven't closed any avenue, and I've said, if we are to sit and look at what is best for Nairobi, then people can sit and discuss. But again, Jubilee is a democratic party. And we expect to have a free, credible elections on Wednesday.
Okay, you're saying some party officials have tried to talk to you. Where would you put them? Top party officials? We saw, for instance, on Thursday, President Kenyatta at State House saying, I mean, it would be good if you and Sonko can agree. Let me just ask you, has the president ever approached you to have a discussion with Mike Sonko to get to a consensus?
I think he said it several times, that he can arbitrate, that he would like to see us work together, but we have to approach him.
Have you had any discussions with him personally about this?
I think we have had discussions that he would like to see the Nairobi issue resolved in a win-win situation. And I know he means it, yes.
And so did he?
But we've not had that session with other candidates. Remember, there are two other candidates, not just one other. We've not had that discussion as candidates.
Has there been any proposal from him? You're saying you've had discussions to get a win-win situation. What kind of win-win situation?
I think what you'd be looking for are options that probably each team would look at to see how you can build a stronger team for Nairobi. Yes.
Okay. what we are getting from our sources is that you've been offered a position of cabinet secretary to step down from Mike Sonko.
I don't know who your sources are. I'm not aware of such an offer. And I'm being candid. I'm not aware of that offer to step down for anybody. I think I have good plans for Nairobi, and I would like to see those plans implemented. And that's why I'm gunning
to be
for the position of governor for Nairobi.
Right, and many are asking what actually your plans are for Nairobi, and I'll come to that shortly.
Thank you.
I mean, you're saying you have not been offered such a position?
I'm not aware of such an offer
or proposal
to step down for another candidate. That's what I'm saying.
So if that comes to the table, are you willing to consider it?
Look, I said, at the moment, my mind is totally on what I can do for Nairobians. And that's where my energies are. We haven't reached there. I'm not aware. We have 2 days to go. We are preparing for the race.
Okay. Have you ever thought, as I wind up on that matter, have you ever thought of stepping down for Mike Sonko? Or are we going to see you at the ballot paper either way?
I would like to go to the ballot so that Nairobians can decide on Wednesday.
Right.
And we have worked towards that.
Right.
As I said, we were ready on Friday. We were ready tomorrow.
Right.
We shall be ready for Wednesday.
You'd like to be on the ballot paper?
Yes.
But if there is intervention from the top leadership of Jubilee to try and get a consensus, and that includes you not being in the ballot paper,
I think
is that a possibility?
We will cross that bridge when we get there. We haven't reached there.
If it happens within
I haven't seen any sign yet. So we are geared towards. Remember, there are also expectations of people. People we've talked to. I've toured virtually every part of Nairobi. First of all, to understand the problems of Nairobians. And I did this because I wanted to understand Nairobi before I did the manifesto. So there is also expectations of the people that I would like to work for. Okay. So you have also to balance the emotions of the people.
Okay, so let's say you go to the ballot with Mike Sonko and the rest on Wednesday. But let's talk about your duel with Mike Sonko, because many people believe things may change, but many people believe that is where the duel is. First, you believe you can beat him in a fair contest during the nominations on Wednesday, and what would you say gives you the edge against Mike Sonko?
Let me put it this way. You go to any race with intentions to win. I've been to every part of Nairobi, talking to people, understanding what they need, what they actually deserve to have gotten from the county government, which they did not get. And I'm going into that race to win against my competitors.
Right.
So it's not about a particular individual. It's about me going into that race to win. And I'm very confident that in a free and fair elections, I will win that contest.
On Wednesday?
Yes.
Right. Recently in Murang'a, and we saw when President Kenyatta was attending a funeral, he told residents to pray for you. You were there. Some interpreted that to mean that the president endorsed you, and that is why one of the tweets we've just read, somebody saying you could be the preferred candidate. First, you believe that is so, and he clarified, of course, President Kenyatta on Thursday said he did not, and anybody can pray for anyone. It doesn't mean he's endorsing you. How would you describe your relationship with him?
First, I think what he said and what he clarified was totally correct. Because he said what he said and he clarified. He didn't, it was taken out of context. I would say he's a man I respect. And I have not had a working relationship because I've been out of government, but I can say that, you know, whenever we meet, we exchange pleasantries. That is the kind of relationship we have.
You have with him?
Yes.
Okay. Let me read one tweet here. Shiko Mwangi says, nataka umuulize Kenneth, mbona anataka kuwa governor wa Nairobi na si wa Murang'a huko kwetu?
Well, look, I was born in Nairobi.
Because you're something, you already have a track record in Murang'a,
yes.
You're an MP there?
Yes, but remember, I was born, I went to school in Nairobi, I've lived in Nairobi all my life. I have seen days when Nairobi as a city had services. I have seen them collapse. and I feel the greater urge to work for the people of Nairobi so that I can bring back the old days when things worked. And things did work when we were growing up. I went to a city council school. I did my secondary, I did my high school in Ziwani. Things worked. Further education was in Nairobi. So there is a greater challenge in Nairobi where I've seen things work in the past, and I have a plan to make them work again.
Okay. Now that you talk about that, you are vying for the presidency in 2013.
Yes.
Marube Onseri on Twitter, where was he for the last 4 years? We didn't see him comment on any other matter affecting us. Is he a political opportunist? Collins Kajwang says, where has he been hiding since 2013? Even when things are going wrong, I cannot trust him even a bit. Somebody else here, Beauty Guru says, where were you hibernating since the presidential election loss? The question is, you have been quiet, out of sight since 2013.
It is very easy, Hussein.
Yeah.
You cannot afford as a country to politic on a daily basis. Looks like we've been on that mode far too long, that when you are not seen, people think there is a miss. I've been in Nairobi in the last 4 days, building the nation in another capacity as a businessman. But I did comment on every national ill that took place.
And that is what people are saying. They didn't see you. That's what actually people are saying.
Which is not factual, because if you go back, and I want to be factual about it, you go back to 2013, 2014, 2015. I've commented on everything. Insecurity, corruption, they are all there. I've written opinions in newspapers. They are there. If you go back to my wall, you'll see all those articles that I wrote. So I think it's because people are just commenting without looking at facts.
Because this makes people believe that yours is about really, just getting power, not commitment to serve the people.
Not really.
You have come at the latter stages of 2016.
Because it's because I made an announcement that I want to go back to politics. Before that, I commented on every national issue as and when necessary. If you go to that iPad of yours and you check backwards, you'll prove these guys wrong. They are all there.
Okay. I'll go to my iPad. Well, actually, I did before the interview. This is one of the things you said in 2016. You faulted the Jubilee government in a news story with one of the dailies. This is on March 19th, 2016. You said, and I'll quote you, "It is not very easy to credit this leadership," that you mean Jubilee. "There are a lot of things that are happening in our country. There was a lot of hope with their leadership, but it is fading away very quickly. We have a serious unemployment issue of young people. They are desperate. We have not fully secured the country from a security point of view. The infrastructure is giving in." And he said, "We are having serious issues about corruption. It is now appearing bigger than it has ever been."
Thank you. At least I said something.
Right.
Now you can confirm
that you
to those who are saying, including Kajwang, who were saying that I didn't say anything. All right?
So what changed?
At that time, we had the NYS scandal, right? Last year. And I was commenting. But you can also see from last year there is a lot of infrastructure projects. Roads are being done. Remember, the president himself said that the procurement process was taking longer and it was frustrating his government. But a lot of things have since happened. A lot of roads started last year being done, right? There was action actually on NYS. So nothing changed. You comment on a national ill as and when it happens as a responsible Kenyan.
Let's look at one of the issues you said when you said we are having serious issues about corruption and it is now appearing bigger than it has ever been. This is in March 19th, 2016.
That was the NYS. As fast, it came out as a small thing. It ended up being bigger. It was in that context that I made that comment.
About corruption?
Yes.
Nothing has changed since.
Well, we haven't had another scandal.
But nothing has changed. The question is, why have you decided now to join the government that
I think you recall after that, quite a number of ministers left.
That was actually prior to that?
No, it happened after, in the State of Union, the address.
That was in March 2015. This was in March 2016.
Yes, but I said, and if you follow, a lot of things have taken place in enhancing the prosecutorial capacity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying regardless of what you said, you still thought it is right and the Jubilee government is right. Regardless of how you criticize them, then
look,
you decided
even
what
today,
they're doing is right and you want to join the Jubilee party.
Even today, if something happens which is a national ill, I'll speak about it. That is my mind. Right? So if anything happens today, I'll still comment. If it is wrong, I will comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have labeled you, those against you in this race for nomination to get the Jubilee ticket, including Mike Sonko, as a late entrant, an opportunist who never played any role. The Jubilee Party loyalists did to form government, that you should not even be given this chance after all, because there are party loyalists who are there when the party really needed them.
Well, we had 3 candidates. One was also in opposition. Why are they talking about that candidate?
Maybe because you're a strong candidate.
Then you can understand the purpose and the intention of that statement.
But
I think as a party that exercises democracy, any entry of any individual that would enhance or join that party would be acceptable. That's my view. An internal democracy should not make candidates for a particular position fight and tear each other. Right? You do not measure loyalty because one joined last week or the other one joined 2 weeks. It's the real intention that you want to help in that party that really counts. Are you saying today, if a member of another party today joins Jubilee, it is a problem? It is not, and there are many who have joined.
Eliki Keter on Twitter says, a spoiler, referring to you, don't count my vote. He ran away from Uhuruto in 2013 when they needed him more. Why now? Because of Jubilee's momentum. And this is what people have been saying. You're just trying to ride on the Jubilee momentum right now.
I think you have to go. I think you have to go. I think you have to go to history. There are many people who have run for presidency, ended up running as MP, right? Ended up joining other parties. It's something that happens all over. Raila Odinga ran for presidency in 1997, right? He then joined NAC and ran for MP, and that is a fact. Our own president ran for presidency and then ran as an MP. That cannot be called opportunism. I think we need to be very clear that, you know, there is a season and time for everything, and there are things that you do whenever that season and that time comes in.
So what actually then attracted you to the Jubilee Party? Why did you decide to join the Jubilee Party?
You know, I looked at our programs that we had in 2013. We had programs like Referral Hospital. Jubilee has doubled that from what we had, from 47 to almost 92. I looked at the infrastructures on roads that I was talking about in 2016 that started taking off. So I looked at that development and I said I wanted to be part of it.
That is why you decided to join Jubilee?
Yes.
Okay. But
at the end of the day, remember, we want to serve people.
Okay.
And you can only serve them from a development agenda.
What does that say then about your principles? In 2013, during the presidential debate, this is what you said when you asked about strengthening political parties. Then you were in the Kenya National Congress Party.
Yes.
You said Kenya National Congress is one of the oldest parties formed at the advent of multi-party politics in 1992. I'm hoping we can develop an ideology so that it can stay for many more years. The moderator then asked you, why join a party that was from 92? What do you share with such a party? You said you picked KNC about 4 years ago, that is in 2013, so 4 years before then. And you have been working with the German Foundation to create a party that is, has ideologies, and you do not hold any position as, at KNC at that time. From how you responded to this question, you were talking about strengthening the institution of the political party, which you have now abandoned to join the Jubilee Party.
As I said there, I did not hold any position. It was not my party. I was just a member.
Yes, but you talked about the importance of that party.
After 2013, I realized that the owners of the party had a different agenda, and I left it.
Which was?
They had their own agenda. I mean, I didn't own the party. I was just an ordinary member. I wasn't going to hang in there because of what I said if the party was not heading in that direction.
That you decided in 2013, or just recently when you said you were going to...
At that time, everything was going right. I actually ceased dealing with that party around 2014. All right? And I was almost partyless. And I don't know what the issue is. If I want to join a political party that I believe I can have the same ideology, I should be free to do so. That does not in any way discard my thoughts of what I think.
Because your opponents see you again. But they see you as an opportunist because you were there in 2013 vehemently criticizing the Jubilee.
How old is Jubilee Party? Just hold on. How old is Jubilee Party?
I think a few months, 6 months or 8 months.
Let's also be realistic. There were precursors to Jubilee. Before those precursors, there were also in other political parties. Right?
Yes. But your opponents feel
let them dwell.
You were against this party in 2013, going for the presidency.
Let them dwell on issues Nairobi. The contest here is not political parties. Hussein, I would love to engage them on issues Nairobi. Remember, at the end of the day, we are talking about service delivery to the people of Nairobi.
And let's talk about that.
When we engage on political parties, everybody has had a route up to where they are. You know, they've gone through a route.
They don't play a big role.
They don't play what you're looking for. What they are looking at is sideshows. I think we need to demonstrate to Nairobians what we can do for them.
Tell us what you can do for them.
For them to make a choice.
Right. What do you think are the biggest failures of Governor Kidero in Nairobi? And what is it to do different for the people of Nairobi? What would your agenda be?
I think first, the issue of service delivery has been very poor. I don't think it's ever been worse as it is. When you ask people about Nairobi, they tell you only about John Gaku. They do not remember any other regime. Because what he did, you can see, you can tell. Right? Nairobi has never been this dirtier. Right? In fact, the other day I said Nairobi kind of looks like the capital city of garbage, the garbage capital city. We have problems with traffic that we need to deal with.
How?
In the short term, there are about 16 roundabouts that we need to think about having tunnels or going over. There are 6 on Uhuru Highway. Right? There is one at Hurlingham, there is one at Mochari, there is one at Timol, Madaraka, right?
When after being, for example, sworn in, as governor, for example, would you do that?
Those are short term. You can probably achieve that in 1 year to 18 months, just to allow the flow. But remember, that is only a short term solution. Remember, more Kenyans who come to Nairobi are buying vehicles, so you'll have more vehicles on our roads. So you need to start thinking about a commuter light rail and implement it within 3 years. That you can have a commuter rail that brings people to town. You need to think about garbage. Most of our roads now, if you go to Kibera, Karanja Road, you go to Kangundo Road, you go to Juja Road, you will see that you have garbage littered just on the roadside. If you get inside, there is more garbage. Right? You need to think about water. We are losing a lot of water on distribution and water cartels. We have to dismantle these cartels. We have to repair the leaks so that the people of Nairobi can have water. I grew up in a city estate. Water was free. We didn't have to pay. It would be my dream to give the people in the slums free water. It would be my dream.
How?
In my term.
How would you do it?
I would like to provide a pipeline that gives them water. And I'll tell you why. If you look at the health facilities, 45% of what they are dealing with are waterborne diseases. Which means if you sort out the water issue, you can ease the pressure on health facilities. That has to be done. The other thing that I would love to see, I would love to see the city schools come up again. I went to a city school, a city council school. They were very good. Now the standards are low, so the locals are forced to take kids to other schools which they consider good. Right? Same with health facilities, so that people don't crowd to the city if the health facilities are good. But in our own manifesto, we want to devolve more. We want to devolve more to the constituencies. I would like, yes.
Just finish it. It's okay. Finish
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
You've had very many interruptions in the past.
That's okay.
Right. We would like to devolve more. We would like to see that constituencies have more or less self-contained services. For example, they would have their own fire engines, right? At constituency level, ambulances, garbage collection at that level, revenue officers. I know they are there, but would like them fully stationed. Maintenance people would be there. I would like to see a market, because a market in every constituency, you know, soko ya kifahari in every constituency. Remember, we have so many unemployed people. Remember, we have so many people in the informal sector that I would like to take care of.
Right.
Right?
Let's talk about corruption very briefly. Yes. How will you handle corruption? Some of the biggest problems in the county government.
You see, when you decentralize, you can be able to fight the cartels. Would like to see, for example, physical planners at constituency level, so that they are able to deal with what is being built. Right? Right? You don't wait until a building collapses and then you have to go to city council, city hall to find out who approved. It is a question of services being delivered at constituency level. You'll be able to cut off the cartels.
Okay. Yeah. But still, corruption can still reign in there. Is there one way or one... I mean, are you thinking of any one way to really handle corruption in Nairobi if you become governor? Because it's a big problem in Nairobi.
You know, Hussein, if you're a good manager, you'll put systems. We will put those systems in place, both from revenue and at expenditure level. And we'll cut off those cartels. We will cut off.
If you can give us an example of one system that you'd put.
You know,
because all these other regimes, whether in Nairobi, whether in any other county, even in the national government, we've had systems.
You know,
but these systems are being exploited either way.
You know, for example, all these cash payments, if you externalize into pure banking, they have cut off a lot of cash handling. Most of corruption takes place in procurement, right? And that's where services lack. Because the consideration of procurement is where corruption thrives.
Okay, one more question now. This happened when you expressed your interest to join Jubilee and to join this race. National Assembly Majority Leader Adan Duale then said, "We welcome Kenneth in Jubilee. However, he must be aware that as Jubilee we have a strategic plan for 20 years. Ruto has what it takes to succeed Uhuru for 10 years." And many have been talking about this, that your entry in Nairobi has all to do with the Uhuru Kenyatta succession politics if it gets a second term, that is in 2022.
On the contrary, not. We are planning for Nairobi for 10 years. These again are sideshows. Right? We are planning and we will release the plans and you will see.
That you will go for Nairobi for the
And I have also said, I do not want to interfere with what Jubilee had planned. I've been very clear on that. Yeah. Not once, not twice.
But do you have a presidential ambitions in the future?
At the moment, my eyes are on the governorship, and I would like to plan for Nairobi for 10 years.
Okay. On Wednesday, if Mike Sonko beats you, are you going to support him to be the governor of Nairobi under Jubilee?
I think the issue should be, if the elections are fair, free and credible, one would always be in a position to accept the results. If they are not, however, then the thoughts are not the same.
If they are, will you support the eventual winner?
I think the most important thing about Jubilee is that you'd like to see it come back. All right? You'd like to see Jubilee come back. I am willing to play that role to see Jubilee come back.
That is if you lose?
Yes.
So meaning you'll support the eventual winner, whether it's Mike Sonko or whoever?
If it's fair and credible.
You'll support him. And finally, you have said you'll get to the bridge, we'll cross the bridge when you get there in terms of whether you'll have a consensus or not before Wednesday.
I think time is running out. We only have another 48 hours. I want to put my energies into the nomination on Wednesday. And that's what me and the team have been doing.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And
But one other thing coming back to Nairobi that I wanted to say that is very important. You know, our informal sector, which are very key into the economy of Nairobi, and we need to take care of them. You know, the matatus, the hawkers, the boda bodas, and the taxis. We must look for a way to help them. They have very good ideas. When you speak to their leaders, they have very, very good ideas. Right? And they see the situations as it is, and that's why I'm committed that they must stay where they are until we find solutions, because they have very good solutions. And for me, you cannot afford to kick them out, because remember, they are earning their daily bread from there, and therefore it is important to engage them, right? Because they contribute a big deal to the economy of Nairobi. I would like to see them in better places. Okay. Yeah.
You said finally, you said you're concerned. But if the nomination is free and fair, if it's not free and fair, are we likely to see you still seek this position of governor as an independent?
You know, I really like what you're asking, because I'm trying to engage on Nairobi issues and you are just coming out.
You have talked about. I've given you time to talk about Nairobi issues. I'm sure we cannot talk about Nairobi issues even if we're given 10 hours. I've given you enough time to talk about them.
You know, I've been very clear on that question, that we'll cross every bridge when we get there. And that is how I intend to look at things. First of all, I go into this race to win. Right? So, in the unlikely failure that you are looking at, then one will gauge it on the fairness and credibility of that process. Okay. And that is important. Okay. Because what we want, we would like Jubilee to have free and fair elections, so that the candidates who win go to the elections with full confidence and backing of the electorate. And I would also like to say this, because I know you want us to wind up. I think the nominations are very important. And I want to appeal to Nairobians that it is so crucial to participate in nominations. Because if you do not participate, you limit yourself to the choices that you'll have on the 8th of August. Right? Because only those who pass through the nominations will be in the ballot. Unless, of course, you go as an independent candidate, and perhaps you won't have that many. So allow me to appeal to Nairobians, because I really want to work for them. I want to appeal to them to come out in large numbers. Elections, the security, as I said, will be there, so that they can come and vote. Okay. So that they do not limit themselves to choices in August. All right. Honorable Peter Kenneth, thank you so much for making time for us. And I wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much. Again, we're asking you tonight, would you vote for Peter Kenneth to be the Jubilee Governor candidate in the party nominations? Talk to us, the hashtag GameTime2017. You can also text us on 22422. We're back after this break. Done? Thank you.